This topic of Yerushalmi Pesachim in the article Ozwa Dish is supposed to start off Samach Vav Amud Aleph, but we're going to start the second to last line of Samach Hey Amud Beis, and that in the Vilna is on Nun Hey Amud Beis, 5 lines after the Mishnah. And yesterday we said that Rabbi Simon ben Levi said the name, and Rabbi Shimon ben Levi both said the name Bar Bedoya, that people knows are mitzvah to Mitami Yadayim. But I think that yesterday I ended with the impression that, and then the Gemara goes on to ask about the tziruf, whether they are possible truma, but that's not the case. It's to talk about each one's individually. What the Chazal Geyser and Pigul Noisar that they're going to make to truma puzzle or not, and Gemara said a Kavachomer that if they made them Matami Yadayim, and the whole purpose to be Matami Yadayim is that the Yadayim should be Matami the truma, so they themselves are Matami the truma. Now, the Gemara asks, okay, what about Yotze? Hey Yotze mat overlay, Matamis Yadayim or Ein Matamis Yadayim? Does Matami Yadayim or not Matami Yadayim? Now, in the next line, and I'm going to make a couple of changes in the next couple of lines. I'm going to add the word Eino, and I'm going to also move a line, which is 2 lines further down, the line Lo Yitma Tzad Achitza and Tzad Pnimi, further up. And this is the way to read the next few lines. Hayin Yotze mat overlay, Matamis Yadayim or Ein Matamis Yadayim? Does Yotze Matami hands or not Matami hands? In Tamar, Hayin Yotze Eino Matamis Yadayim. If you're going to say the Yotze is not Matami Yadayim, and why do you want to say that's not Matami Yadayim? Because, and here we move up the line for a couple lines below, the low cane. If not, if you're going to say it is Matami Yadayim, Yitma Tzad Achitza Tzad Pnimi. On the first change that to Tzad Pnimi. Whatever left, let's say up to your left Yerushalmi, left the Beis Hamikdash. This remains inside Yerushalmi, right? So then the outer part should be Matami the inner part. And then you're going to have a problem with your kashim being bustle. So therefore, the reason you're going to say it's not Matami Yadayim is in order to avoid that issue of the Tzad Achitza being Matami Tzad Pnimi. But if you're going to say that, we're going to have a problem here, a little bit of a conundrum. Because, in Tamar, the locating, because if not, Yitma Tzad Achitza and Tzad Pnimi, then Pigul Noisar and Impulsive Truma. They can't say Pigul Noisar are apostle Truma, because Pigul Noisar are always one level more severe than the it takes the axiomatic. Pigul Noisar are always going to be one level more severe than Yotze, because Yotze is Psul Machshir and Pigul Noisar are Psul Guf. They're going to be one level. They're going to be more chomer, but one level more chomer. So therefore, you're going to say, okay, if Yotze is not place of Matami Yadayim, it's not even Matami Yadayim. So then Pigul Noisar are going to be Matami Yadayim, but they're not going to be Matami Truma itself, because they'll be taking them 2 levels up. And Chazal obviously held there can only be one level difference, not 2 levels difference. Can't drop Madregas. So, but then the flip side is, in Tamar Pigul Noisar ain't Pigul Noisar ain't Pasim Truma. They're going to say Pigul and Noisar are not don't pass with Truma, and therefore the only thing they pass is Yadayim. So then, the Yadayim left logos left klum. It's nothing. And also to Chazal evidently was intolerable, right? Any psuli and psul machshir, Chazal felt has to have some degree have tumah. So how do we understand? How are we going to have psul? What we really want to do is say that truma and no certain tame are metame truma, and that the earth is possibly a dime. But how are we going to do that without the chitza being metame the pnimi? Says Gemara, I'll tell you the answer. Gemara says, Rabbi Yavin said, Man islay davar tamei machmas atzmo. Who holds a davar tamei something can be tamei on account of itself? L'rei Meir? It's not Rei Meir, and we don't paskin like Rei Meir. Oh, so now according to the art school and many achronim, the carbonator actually, it's based on that the question is whether tumas basis storim is mitami or not, and we pass in tumas basis storim, but tumas takes place inside something, it's not mitami. If somebody swallowed something tummy, it's not mitami them. If somebody inserted something tummy into the body without touching it, it's not mitami them. So tumas basis storim is not mitami. Rabbi Meir holds this with me. We don't pass Rabbi Meir. But the Yerushalmi Pesachim says it's not necessarily true. Rabbi Meir could hold Tumas Beis Storm is not Matame. This is a different vort. And therefore the Yerushalmi is using a different language. It doesn't use Tumas Beis Storm. He uses the question of Dover Tame Machmas Atzmo. Because something is half Tame is automatically Matame the other part. It's not touching it. It's still connected. It's Matame the other part and not Matame the other part. So Rabbi Meir holds, even though it's not touching, it's still connected. It's mitame, but we hold not that way. He says no. We hold that something is only mitame something else if it touches it, and then it's not see touching as long as it's still connected. So Rabbi Meir's one holds. He says davar tame machmas atzim. We don't. So how do so the Gemara says how does that work? So then okay fine, but when you cut it off, it's going to be mitame because then it's touching it. So Gemara has that. I think I don't remember what it was like when a sandal is tame, and then you cut it off. So it's mitame, whatever remains. So you have to cut it off quickly, and also by mitzoro has a tzoras. You have to quickly rip it off so it doesn't touch the rest of the body. Not much case we have this in Shas. So in any event, so what do you do over here? So Rabbi Yochanan said that's Lochen Rabbi Yochanan called Varim Torim Beruban. Anything which is Torah till the majority gets cut off. Right. In other words, this idea of something which is Tamei, since it's not Tamei Machmas Atzmo, that once it's disconnected, until it's connected, the majority, so it's not Matamitzah. But once it's majority, it's disconnected. So then. Yeah, problem. Like it says, Park Lokan and Rabbi Yossi cause shenitmu. Cause shenitmu nikru came at shenifrash. Once it's severed, Ruban lo avichi, but it's not connecting anymore. So there, at that point, it's mitame. So yehikim magiabo, and here too. Once you cut off the yotze part, it's like it's touching. If you puzzle, it's puzzle. Mechaniach said, no, mechater koshu. There's a way to get around that. Okay, so with well, let's see the Korban first. Mechater koshu shemechater mat bezorko. You cut off a little bit and throw it away. And olam ein anach chrov minhan nishar. And never whatever cut off is going to be majority over what remains because. Cut off a strip, you remove it. Cut off a strip, move it. So it's never going to become a rove, so it's never going to be metamed. So therefore, the poli yoytze of that is that we can talk and say yoytze is metamed yadayim, and sakri yatame whatever is still pinimi because it's going to make sure to cut off in a way that it never actually touches it once it's severed, and therefore that's by psul machshir it says metamed yadayim, and therefore by psul aguf of Pigul Noiser, there we can be guys there that it's Metame Truma Mamish, and everything works out fine. Okay, now we go back to the next one of Mishnah Minagaf and Lifnim. So Rabbi Paul, B'Shem Rav Yehuda said, Lo Kichu Tachas Agaf Yerushalayim. They didn't want to Mekadosh Tachas Agaf, the inner. Sorry, the article that's in the picture, the inner section of the doorway. That was not made. Not made Kodesh Yerushalayim. Says the Korban Tachashar Yerushalayim Lo Kitchu Kedusha Seir Levi Kamachne Yisrael. So it's a Machne Yisrael. So you couldn't eat your korban in that doorway. Why is that? So Rabbi Yirmiyah B'Shem Rabbi Shmuel Yitzchak said, "Kidei she'yim tzoroim beginning to tachnei mecham necham gshem b'nei gshamim." So it's the Mitzrayim have to remain outside Yerushalayim. So when it was getting too hot or too cold, we wanted them to have some shelter. So in order to give some shelter, so he made the Ben Agaf, the thickness of the doorway, outside Yerushalayim, so they could take shelter underneath that roof. So the Gemara says, okay, the Kabbalah similarly, Loki Shutaras Agaf Shel Harabayis. They don't regard the thickness of the Harabayis. The doorway to Harabayis, because they choose Zovin, who are Meshulach Mechutz Shnei Machnos, they can't go into Harabayis, they can go into Yerushalayim. They choose Zovin Mechutz Shnei Machamos, also, so they should have their protection. So Gemara asks the obvious question: they're dissimilar. So what's the comparison? Zov Yeshel Echel Hagin, right? The Zov has a place to be making. sorry, I skipped the words. Where it says Mitzora ain't loechel lahogin. A Mitzora has no place to protect himself. Zav yesh loechel lahogin, but a Zav has a place to protect himself. Zav yesh loechel lahogin b'chol Yerushalayim. Zav has a place to protect himself in all of Yerushalayim. So the Korbaneh says Bishlam Mitzora elo makam lahogin because it's outside the city. He look Yerushalayim. So the great Yerushalayim are not sanctified. Elo Zav hareish lo makam lahogin. He has a place to protect himself. Shem mutar b'Yerushalayim. Shem mishtayach chutz l'machne levi is only not allowed to go to machne levi. V'ur abayis v'lom loki jishari abayis. So why not be makar shar abayis? Why not? It's a good question, right? So why doesn't it answer directly? The Gemara answers indirectly. It says, okay, your point is valid, but Rabbi Yoel Bar Mattai Shem Rabbi Pinchas said, "Mimad Anu Chami Rabbanim Mishalchin San the land." Since the rabbis are moving their shoes, Tachas Agov Shel Arbais under the doorway. In other words, in the doorway of Arbais. Probably Arbais had a very thick doorway. So for that, we see that they weren't Makadosh the doorway to the Arbais, and that's why. And that was obviously talking about when the people still going up in Arbais. They had Paraduma. Paraduma ashes still, and they're able to retire themselves. Well, actually, our brides could be the mace. I'm sorry, but evidently they. So they I take that back. Then they Paraduma ashes back. So they were still going to Arabais, and therefore they. But even though they go up Arabais, place where Tomei mace can go, nevertheless you have to move your shoes. So therefore they have to move the shoes in the thickness of the wall of the Arabais. Okay, the Gemara says, Rav Shol Rabbi Chia Rabba. Rav Shol asked his uncle, Rabbi Chia the Great, Gagos Yerushalayim Mine. The rooftops in Yerushalayim, what's their status? Is their status the with Lushas Yerushalayim or they're outside Yerushalayim? So he said, Matalios, since they give a mashal, and they say, Pischa Kazesa, they say the Pesach was, everybody ate a Kazais for Halela, and the holiday said, as they were eating the Korban Pesach, Midbar Igraya broke the roofs. Hadam Ragagos Yerushalayim Kodesh. So the roofs of Yerushalayim were Kodesh. So the conventional pshat, the Pashup pshat is that it means that they were sitting on the roof, right? They were sitting on the roof, and the roof below them broke, figuratively speaking, because of the great howl that they were saying. But one could also learn differently. One could learn that they were sitting inside the house. And then they as they were sitting inside the house, the howl was so great that it broke the roof on top of them. So now it turned out they were eating on the roof because the roof went down a level. So where they were sitting, so therefore, you see, you can sit on the roof and eat the Korban Pesach because the roof is niskadish. Now, as the article points out in the Bavli, the Maskoros of Gemara is that they only went up to the roofs until after they ate their korbanos Pesach, and Rab says the name Rab says that in the name Rabbi Chia. So therefore, in the Bavli, it comes out that Rabbi Chia holds that Gagos Yerushalayim lo niskachu. Here in the Yerushalmi, we'll see that Rab argues Rabbi Chia, but according to the Bavli, it was no machlekes that everybody holds the Gagos Yerushalayim lo niskachu Rabbi Chia, and not like it says here. But here that's the eating the chud and hal the chud. But again, according to Yerushalmi, Rabbi Chia holds no, that the Gagos Yerushalayim were niskadish. The two of Yerushalayim wants to reconcile the Bible and Yerushalmi, but it's not important for us to do it right now. In the meantime, we go on. Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Moshe, Rabbi Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak Shem Rav said, Gagos Yerushalayim chol. He held that the Gagos Yerushalayim are not niskadishu. Avad nidim we learn min agaf lifnim lifnim. The agaf l'chutzim we learn our mission that everything as Korban says. Mashma kol masha lifnim min aguf lifnim afilu gagin. Everything within from the doorways and in was considered to be kadosh, right? Pasala begag mevutzel abi chotzer masnisa. Most of us mean the gag is mevutzel, literally fortified by abi chotzer. In other words, it's surrounded by abi chotzer. It's flush on the same level as the chotzer. So therefore, it's not really it's a roof which has the status of the chotzer, and therefore it's niskadish because it's really on ground level, relative as according to the chatzers which surround it. Yerushalmi Pesachim wants to say a novel shot, though. He wants to say that just like there's an avir mevutza, gag mevutza of a chatzer, so to a gag which is which is not higher than the walls of Yerushalayim. It's going to be mevutzar in Yerushalayim, surrounding Yerushalayim, and therefore those gagos niskachu. That's the idea that gagos, which are has to do with whether the gag is higher than the wall or not higher than the wall. So according to this, Ruba does not argue in Rav, and they all agree. That depends on kind of a gag we're talking about. If the gag is within the height of the choma, it's in niskadish. If the gag is above the height of the choma, it's not niskadish. So depending which of those, the two pshatim, the conventional pshat or the Yerushalmi pshat, you go with the next couple of lines, you interpret accordingly. So so it says the windows in the walls, and the thickness of the wall is on the inside, and the windows. Okay, the windows are could be they're different, which is interesting because the doorways they made a special chutz, but here they're making by the windows they make such a because they sort of didn't have to shelter there. But in any event, but it's the over choma. It's on top of the wall, right? So it's not. Should be like the gag. Shouldn't be kodesh. So odi begag mutzel avi chotzi masnisa. So this is no talk about gag mutzel avi. It's similar to gag of mutzel avi chotzer. So either because this is talking about part of the wall of the ovi choma, which is next to a chotzer, I guess it was extremely low there. Maybe it was very steep outside, but it was extremely low on the inside. It was flush to a chotzer, or like the Yerushalmi Pesachim, it was lower than a parapet, which went above the wall, which we're about to say, and which would also, so again, even though according to the first shot, even though on the inside it was flush, there was a parapet outside it. And according to so comes out being sort of similar to there. Well, according to the second shot, there could be also a wall on the inside, as long as there's a parapet on the outside. So again he only began mutzah over chotzim asisa v'aski damar be'acha b'shem mechina, and it's going like Rabbi Achas name mechina vayavel chel v'chama. The pasuk in Eicham doing this during the 9 days, so it's appropriate. So the Ve'avel Chel V'Chama, by the time you get this, probably after the 9 days. So, okay, so we should see by the time the Daf Yomi Yerushalmi gets this, maybe the Gulu will have come. Bye. So, in any event, so Ve'avel, not sure, I didn't look at the calendar. So, Ve'avel Chel V'Chama, the Shuro Bar Shuro. So, this is their Chel V'Chama means there's the higher parapet, right, and there's the lower wall next to it. So therefore, there's the over Choma here. Say there was a parapet. It was again according to conventional trial, it was flush on the inside. There was a parapet on the other side, or there was just not flush on the inside. According to the other shot, but the main thing is there's a parapet which extends high the wall over and above it next to it. So the Gemara asks, "Im ovia choma, kichu kosh chalom." We have to house the window. If the thickness of the wall is kadosh, right? So certainly the window is kadosh. So the Gemara says, "A cute chap." I'm Rabbi b'chalon shagabi agaf tzricha. We're talking about a window which is above a doorway, right? So, even though we're going to say that under the doorway of Yerushalayim there was not kadosh, the window on top of the doorway was kadosh. Tali b'shem Rabbi Yehuda. We learned the name of Rabbi Yehuda. The tunnels even though they're under the heichal, they're chol. The gagos heichal kodesh. The rooftops over the heichal in the heichal were kodesh. Rabbi Yam Shimon Log said Masisa Amakein that the tunnels were not kodesh. Is a Mishnah Talmud. It says that Medura Sham. There was a bonfire in the Beis Hamokein. Well, actually, the Medura. It was in the Beis Hamokein. No, the Medura was in the tunnel. There was a bonfire in the tunnel. Where they used to go down for the Beis Hamokein, basically covered, and there was a restroom of honor there. And what was the honor of this restroom? This is evidently cutting edge technology at the time. It's so no, he found it like you do a adam. He was a person inside, and he waited till he had finished, and then you took your turn. Pasuach, if you found it open, there was not lock. You do a sham adam. There was nobody there, and then you could go in. So see that there was a restroom in the Beis Hamikdash in the tunnel. So must be tunnels only scotchu. Says well, it's not a raya. Rabbi Yosef said chitzah tuma. Tzor tuma. The excrement is not tamei, but only a kiss. It's a question of cleanliness, hygiene, not a question of tuma. Can't bring a raya from the fact that there was a restroom underneath that in the chilos no scotchu. There's no issue of tuma with it. So what is the issue? What does prove that there was no tuma in the that the mechilos no scotchu? Vayda Amradar, what tells us this? Yotze lechlo memsi belechos tachas abira. A person Balkari goes out in the person goes Balkari in the Beis Hamikdash. She goes out through the tunnel Halechas Tachas Abira, which goes underneath the bira. But there is Dogim Mikan Mikan, go with candles with shalit on each side. As I would call, when the Pirchei Kuna became tummy during the nighttime, had an emission, he goes out through this tunnel until he gets to the mikveh. So im kodeshu, if the mechilas is skachu, so then tunnels are going longer; they're going straight out the door. And the halacha is if you go out, if you come to the Beis Hamikdash, you take the quickest possible exit. So therefore, if allowing you to go in the tunnels, which are not the quickest possible exit, because you have to go downstairs and go through whatever way the tunnel went, if the tunnels are holy, then you should not be able to go to the tunnel. You should go directly out the door on the floor level. So it must be that since we allow you to go more elaborate way to the tunnels, that the tunnels were loni skachu. Okay, halacha gimel. Masnisi. Shnei chaburos. You had two groups. She'ochle be'bayis echad. So we know that Pesach has been in its chabura. But they can be in two chaburos, as Bnei Moshe says. She'er b'she'ochel be'bayis echad. P'yish ha'pes nechali b'shtei chaburos. Yoshim Morak. You'll sleep al habatim asher echlu oso bahem. Shpes echad nechal b'shtei chaburos. Nachi mashma yochlu shnayim also chad Pesach. You need the same Pesach in 2 houses or 2 chaburos. So can one person eat in 2 places? No. The chabura they split 2 chaburos, but he has to stay in your chabura. If different eating 2 chaburos, you have to have something to recognize shame time that there are 2 groups. These turn their face this way and eat. These turn their face that way and eat. So it shouldn't look like they're mixed together. One person eat in 2 of them. He's not allowed to eat in 2 chabros because the bayis echad yachel. So back to the Mishnah. They turn this way. You can have the hot water, the coffee urn in the middle. That's okay. Mm-hmm. They can both use it. That doesn't make them mix together. Shamash omelim zog, but Shamash who's eating one of the chaburos gets up to pour the wine or the coffee, then coffee it's peeve. He has to close his mouth and mouth upon him and turn his face until he gets back to his own chabura va'ochel, and then he can eat there. But he has to, so after some hecker when he's being mashamish, the other group, not to eat together with him. So there's this hecker closing his mouth tight and turning in the other direction. Va'kala oferes b'nei so Kala, who's embarrassed to eat because the new bride and it's a new family, so therefore she is allowed to turn to another side, and it's not like he's eating 2 chaburos. It's a little bit strange because Carbon 8 says here, Pesach Nechel B'Shtei Chaburos. So the point is that it's not 2 chaburos. She's allowed to turn herself to a side. People know it's not 2 chaburos, so I'm not sure exactly what he's saying. But in any event, she can turn. She doesn't have to look at everybody else's face. Okay, so says the Gemara, Ksib, lo tzitzim in a bais in a bas chutza. It says you can't take from the house, from the flesh of the korban beis outside. Any elo chutz bais. I don't know, outside the house, literally. Chutz chabura minayin. How do you know now to take it out of the chabura? Tamilo lo totzi chutza. It says don't take it out. So the korban 8 point explains. Chutza it's a superfluous passage. The management will see lot to see, right? It says lot to see. It says lot to see already. What is chutza telling us? So it's telling us even outside that, even outside the chabura, even that house, it's also not just take it outside the house, mamish. So mikan shim hotzi chutz chabura shemischayv. From here, we learn out. From here, the Mashbiach says that from this halacha, which you just said, we learn out that if you take it outside the chabura, that you're chayav. It was not just outside the house, even outside the chabura. So from this, what we just since Lototzi Chutza is mashma that you're not allowed to take even from outside the chabura, so that's from extra chutza. So therefore, if you go out the chabura, you're chayav. It's interesting. There's a Gersa in the Leiden manuscript. If it says, he says, Shim Hotzi, Shim Amar Hareni Motzi, Chutz Chabura, Shim is chayiv. Even if it's saying it, then you're chayiv. But that's not the Pashut Pshat. So so again, so if you take out the Chabura, it's chayiv. So Amar said, I understand this. Amar Kalot Totzi Chutza. So you're saying lo totzi chutza, but I don't mean chutza chabura shemischayv. You're going to say from this that on the chutza chabura is mischayv. Lo koshkin chutza bais is not kavachom yichayv chutza bais. So if you're saying darshan chutza this way to tell us that you're already chayiv on the outside the chabura, so what's the additional chutza bais, right? What's it adding on? So what it says, Rabbi Ami wants to answer this. Boy, here it's not a question, but if it's a statement, or if it's a question, it's like the Farshim say it says what's your problem? So Hotzi Mechabur L'Chabura, and here the Korban changes B'shnei Bazesim to B'shnei Batim. But I'm not even sure. I would, if it's up to me, I would just take it all out, or I'd say Hotzi Mechabur L'Chabura Umina Bayis or something like that. But Chayiv Shtaim, Chayiv 2. We took out from Chabura and from Abayis, right? Chayiv Shtaim Mishum Lo Totzi in Abayis, Mishum Lo Totzi Chutza. So again, I'm not sure how Beis Bati makes it better than Beis Shnei Seisim. I think the main point is to take it out of Chabura and out of the Bayis, and it's saying that you're over two, one because of the Chabura, one because of the house. In any event, that brings us to the end of our. It's actually top us already, so we'll stop here for today, of course.